Hello! So let's talk about brick homes, because the idea of a brick home, to me, is that of a dream. It's a green way to build, so it's naturally sustainable. It's a natural insulator, so not only does it keep the outside temperature outside, but it also keeps the inside temperature inside, for efficient energy conservation. It also does the same for sound. It is fire resistant, and again, for myself, it is beautiful, so aesthetically pleasing. With all of that being said, let me show you the wooden walls of my home, which need to be severely redone annually. And it takes weeks to finish. If it isn't your pretty much only purpose for living and breathing, some portions of this wall have been simply self-peeling at this point, and others come off almost just as easily. There are air bubbles, so gaping that little buggy boos have made nests in them, and despite being in the sun, the paint has visibly gotten darker. I don't know how that happens, but it does. So, where do we start? The setup. Putting some kind of cloth or a drop sheet down. Mine is a tarp, so it's also water resistant. Putting on protective gear, aka gloves and glasses, you know, the ladder. Oh, and the ladder. Please don't. Okay, I thought you were gonna put it on the. This is both a tips and tricks for painting an outside wall, well, wooden wall specifically, and a paint with me of sorts, where I accidentally do a bunch of embarrassing funny stuff and happen to film it. So if I fall down and die, just make sure to put the raw footage on YouTube. We can make millions off of it.
Now when you get to where the silicone on the window, it makes more sense to take this and do a straight cut. If there's a chip, you don't want the chip to go underneath. So it's probably just a long way to paint.
Actually coming off easier than any other one.
Yes, the sun's out.
When the sun comes out, he's like, who, me?
So the scraper, every so often I just flash myself and all of a sudden I'm blind from the sun.
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah?
I do one section at a time and see how life takes us.
That is good.
You want to try mine, see if it's any different for you? Being a little smaller?
Oh my god!
What, you like it better?
Like chip away at the wall and accidentally hit my dad with some old paint. Oops.
I saw that. They're blinded.
I got a decent itch from that.
Wow.
Tell me I'm wrong. You're gonna sit here and tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
Hold on! This is my favorite. Hold on! Her sister was a witch, right? And what was her sister? A princess! The Wicked Witch of the East, bro!
I'm gonna stab him.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
It's my favorite
She
movie,
wore a
man.
crown and she came down in a bubble,
I'm
dog!
not fighting with you.
Grow
I'm
up,
not fighting
bro!
with you.
Grow up!
Get educated, but
I should have nothing to tell you anything, ever. God.
Oh, and it's ending time! That means even more PPE. We had two sanders going, but one of them wasn't exactly meant to have the Quartz sandpaper that we were actually using on it. So we improvised with some tape. You gotta work with what you got. Oh, that's so funny. Because there was tape there, this wasn't fully secured.
Right.
Once everything was sanded, we realized that the bottom board had come loose, almost like the bottom board in my building a deck video, minus what was behind it, of course. We used wood glue and some finishing nails and pushed them in all the way in. and then spackled over top so it was a seamless finish. As well as any other areas that may have been sanded down too much or picked it too much, etc. Any areas at all that weren't uniform. On to prime time! Not the television show. Though you still do want to be careful with a priming layer, it's a little bit more forgiving than painting is.
They're in quite a meeting, aren't they?
A meeting of the mind.
International Pro Debate Club.
If you're questioning why it's going between being sunny, raining, and dark, it might have something to do with the fact that this was shot over a few days and it's still being worked out now.
Do you want me to paint over these?
I think they're fine. Not you?
Don't give me that. The yes or no question. I really don't know why I put glasses on today. Yet you said nothing.
It's prep and painting time. Again, putting a drop cloth of some sort down. Having issues with the ladder even though I was showing how to properly use it in the past. Leave it to me to find the hardest way to do something and constantly do it that way. To give you a little bit of a rundown on what's actually going on in case that part seems pertinent to you, in order to redo the side, the old paint needs to be taken off, therefore,
There we go.
with that being said, like up there.
Be that as it may.
we picked up what we could off with a scraping tool, which was actually a ton, but still somehow not enough at all. How can something be simultaneously too much and not enough all at the same time? Some parts ended up getting down to the previous primer, while others the bare wood. Now, when I tell you that this was a process, I mean it. For you, it's a couple of seconds for each clip, and for me, it was approximately 20 to 25 minutes for each clip. 4 to 5 hours a day. And then it was time to sand. It's sanding time!
Hello. I appreciate that.
Which both made it smoother and made it easier to come back in with the scraping tool to get down even further than just to the paint and primer. Obviously, in a perfect world, we would just start over from the bare wood, but if you were in my position and this had taken you 4 to 5 hours each day, you wouldn't argue with me on this, I promise you that. I used a coarse sandpaper. I'm not sure of the grit, but I just got a really coarse one off of Amazon. And the mask I was wearing was 100% left me looking like a hot mess. This is what we're looking like now. Got some spackle in here, a little bit over here, a lot of it over there. But everything is now sanded. Remember when I was shown how to operate the ladder and when I operated it myself? Remember when I said that I somehow always find the most difficult way to do something? Well, third try is a charm.
Tapped you on the shoulder. How could you jump? Tapped you on the shoulder.
I thought it was someone falling on me.
Oh.
And then came back in with both a dry cloth to give a sanded area a complete wipe down, top to bottom, and then shaking it out in between every couple wipes or so, I would say. And then dampening it, the cloth I mean, and washing the wall down, again just with water this time. As it was a warmer day, this dried down pretty quickly I would say, but I would recommend waiting for as long as it takes for it to do this, hot day or not. I may be stating the obvious, but do not paint over wet wood. Fine. Everything's fine. Wiping down the wall with the wet cloth also took off any excess spackle, as it is a water-soluble substance or product. I truly didn't notice how much I had sanded down until I wiped it down.
Okay.
Did you hear my screech? Is that why you're asking?
No, okay.
Okay. Sound good. I mean, it looks bad, but it looks good for being bad.
There were also a few casualties. We lost a few good men. Cue metro stations, shake it. looks a ton better than it did before. It's not perfect, but considering how it looked, and it will still probably have to be redone in a year anyways, it's a beauty. There's some serious line of demarcation, but as I continue on, those will cease to exist, obviously. But you can 100% tell where I wiped down, as that takes away any and all of the sawdust from the area that came, obviously, when I was sanding it down. I didn't wipe down the area that I had already repainted, so that still had some sawdust left over. And I met some friends along the way. Now here's some random clips of me listening to music while doing my thing. Any guesses on what I was listening to? There's definitely some Olivia Rodrigo in there. I found another friend and thought that I had, got him away. But it turns out that I did not. But that is it for today's video, and I do hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.